Welcome, Vazgen. Coach Vazgen.
Hi, Leo.
Vazgen, I've been trying to record intros separately to my podcast, but I don't like how they come out. So I want to introduce you here while you're here. The reason I have Vazgen on is Vazgen Soghoyan. By the way, am I pronouncing your last name correct?
Yeah, Soghoyan.
Okay. Because I felt like I'm mispronouncing it. But Vazgen is, to be honest, one of the most legendary arm wrestlers, especially in the lower weight class in history. I really feel that in future generations, people will be watching his matches. He is a multiple-time world champion. He's an expert like a sensei in arm wrestling. He knows every technique. He has his training styles. He's coached people to get to higher levels in amazing coaching programs. He leads an arm wrestling group based in Los Angeles and one of the most knowledgeable people about arm wrestling in general, and also one of the most capable, as I said. So I'm really honored to have you here, Vazgen.
Thank you.
We'll do a short discussion today, and maybe hopefully we can have you again sometime because I think it would be great for the audience. People have been learning about arm wrestling lately because there's been getting more media coverage with Devin Larat and with Siplenkov recently on Nick's Strength and Power. It's a big YouTube channel. Devin Larat has been on another YouTube channel called Juji Mufu or Juji and Tom. And people are starting to realize that the sport of arm wrestling is a very serious sport. And it's a combat strength sport, the only combat strength sport in the world.
And it's a very old sport. From many centuries ago, people were trying to compete or measure their strengths on the battle with arms. And why it's popular and getting more and more popular? Because this sport is not like some other modern sports now where you get smashed in your face after every battle or training. You have to visit doctor, some major surgeries or health issues. You need to learn how to do this, and it's a fight on your arms. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, that's an incredible point, which is that any other combat sport, you run the risk of seriously damaging your brain. In arm wrestling, the worst that can happen, and this doesn't happen if you're trained well, is an arm break. But usually doesn't happen.
Yeah, arm breaks happen sometimes, but in most cases, it happens with people who just enter the sport. Well, accidents happens too, especially with professionals too, but in most cases, it's because of not prepared well. So technically, I say.
Vazgen, many years ago, you explained to me how an arm break works. And it was really interesting. I never understood that the bone in the arm, the upper bone here, can be twisted in a position when the person is not looking at their hand. And very little force is required to break that. But if a person knows how to stay in visual contact with their arm, and if their arm has been trained, it's very unlikely.
When you fight with your arms in arm wrestling, you use mostly your joints and tendons and muscle. It's not going all pressure on the bones. Especially the bone in your bicep area is very tiny. It's little pressure in certain position and bone breaks. It's tiny bone. So there are certain rules in arm wrestling. When you keep the rules, it's safe. Your position gets safe, your fight goes safe. It shows your level of arm wrestling. And when people go out of those limits, they put themselves in a dangerous position, then there's a huge risk to get injured, different type of injuries, including arm breaks.
By the way, Vazgen, I haven't seen you in a while. I've been following your Instagram lately, and I see this amazing clothing company called Wrestling Apparel. Are you involved in it, or you're sponsored by it? It's a beautiful. I love the pants.
Actually, that's my new baby. That's my new project. I had a dream for many years to have some business in sports, and especially in arm wrestling. For my 20 plus years in arm wrestling, I have gained some good name, let's say. People love me, follow me, respect me, and it has a huge potential in it. And it would be stupid from my side not to use that potential in business way. And I was thinking for many years to create some arm wrestling clothing line. And one day I decided, I got angry and I did it. It's a sports clothing, t-shirts, shorts, pants. I just called it very simple, Arm Wrestling Apparel, and people can just see it, armwrestlingapparel.net. It's an online store. Very nice design. And by the way, I designed them. I draw it on the paper, and then my computer guy is doing same picture on computer filing the graphics. And then we send it to the manufacturer and some corrections, and a new clothing is born. So
The incredible thing is I've seen Siplenkov wearing it. This is one of the most legendary arm wrestlers in the heavyweight classes. I've seen all, I mean, because you're the diplomat of arm wrestling, I guess everybody's wearing it now.
well, I sent him as a gift some of my clothing, and especially shorts, and there's green shirt. He liked them so much. When I called him and I asked like how it was fitting, he's huge. My largest size maybe cannot fit him. He said, whatever you sent, double it. Send it again. I said, why? He said, the first collection, I will use it in the gym, to kill it in the gym. And the other one, I will go places. I said, okay, you got it. That's the biggest compliment I can have. Since now everything new comes out, without asking, I know the sizes. I just ship it to him.
For those that don't know, Vazgen is talking about one of the strongest men who's ever lived. And the world record holder, I think, in the curl. Is he not?
Bicep curls, yeah.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
monster.
right now he's working on his comeback, and as this pandemia coronavirus situation settles down, and once we start the tournaments, probably he will start competing again. Like we all will start competing. There are no tournaments, nothing. We all just sit home, train, gain weight, by the way. Whoever I see, everybody look bigger. Nobody is on the diet,
Very hard
including me.
on the diet because you get bored at home. You don't have anything to do.
Since this quarantine started, almost every day and every weekend I get calls. Hey, we are doing barbecue. Just stop by. I went 1, 2, 3, and I said, okay, guys, this is enough. Don't call me anymore.
I want to point the audience to something. If you notice, when Vazgen raises his hand, something incredible at Vazgen, his hand's width is almost the same as the length. Vazgen, if you meet Vazgen, you think he's a smaller guy. If you're very muscular, I used to be 250 pounds, you think you're strong. This guy can beat Scott Mendelson in arm wrestling. He beats all of us, me especially, like a baby. Like I'm not trying at all. He is a truly sensei. So it's really great to talk to. Okay, Vazgen, can I ask you some interesting things?
Yeah.
First of all, I want to tell you something. I was thinking about our interview, and recently I've been getting into chess. And I noticed that in chess, I have this alarm that always goes off at a weird time from a stopwatch. Anyway, sorry, but I noticed in chess that there's one of the top 5 grandmasters in the world is an Armenian. Then I was thinking about it also. One of the top tennis players, I think, in history was an Armenian. Then I Googled a little bit, and then I realized there's a top baseball player. Actually, let me tell you the name. Steve Bedrosian. In soccer, Yuri Georgiev of France.
Jorkaev.
Yeah, Georgia.
Well, he's not playing right now. He was in the team in 1998 when France won the World Championship, and the World was in France. And then after 2 years, European Championship was in Holland, I guess. Yeah, and they won the European Championship, and Yuri Jorkaev was in there too. He's a legendary football player.
There's Garo Yeperemian of the Dolphins, American football player. Obviously, Andre Agassi, I mentioned from tennis. Basically, all the major sports, and you in arm wrestling. And there's many other Armenian arm wrestlers, but you're the most well-known, I think. And there's every major sport except basketball, because obviously there's a height problem there, because those people are very tall, so it's difficult for us people from from our area. You guys are not. So this is what I wanted to talk about: is this? Armenians are some of the most capable people in anything that they go into, in sports, in business, in culture. I mean, many people don't know Cher, the singer Cher, legendary singer, is Armenian. I mean, everything that Armenians do, they do to an excellent degree. And this is something that must be noted. One of the most cultured and capable people, I think, in history.
Well, if you Google on YouTube or somewhere else, there are videos like most famous Armenians too. You'll discover some amazing things. Me too, that I never knew. Did you know that the automatic transmission that you use in your car every day is created by Armenian?
Wow.
The X-ray machine is created by Armenian, and like a lot of some aviation big deals, they are created by Armenians. The Russian military planes MiG is named by the Armenian constructor Mikoyan. So it's like,
Now, you
especially sports, and especially in power sports, strength sports, in Armenia, it's like traditional something. If you have a boy, your kid must go to the sport. Then it can be boxing, wrestling, weightlifting, now arm wrestling, some martial arts. MMA is getting accelerated in Armenia now. So, yes.
Armenia is close to a country named Georgia. And Georgians and Armenians, I noticed they look similar, but the language is, of course, very different. But Georgians are also really top in arm wrestling. At least there's two top Georgians in the heavyweights. One of them is shocking, Levan Saginashvili, and another one is a very, very talented hook arm wrestler.
It's actually brother country, neighbor country, brother country. We have been living next to each other, helping each other for many centuries. And in 405, when Mesrop Mashtot, Armenian priest and scientist, created Armenian alphabet, sometime later he created alphabet for Georgian, letters.
Ah.
Before we were talking Armenian, but we were using letters in manuscripts, in church books, and in something ancient Assyrian, Greek. And in 405, he created letters for Armenia and later for Georgia too.
Those are some of the most beautiful letters in any language, actually. I wish I could understand it. It looks like a script that you would see in one of Tolkien's movies, like a magical script. uh, Vazgen, I just want to get, because it's your first time here, a bit of an introduction to you. You live in the US, you live in California, but you grew up in Armenia, right?
Yes. Since 2006, I moved to Los Angeles and started to live and train in here. I think it gives more opportunity in here than in my home country. But by the time I got even richer, I love this country. This country gave me a lot of things. Now I have two home countries, America and Armenia. So I'm very grateful. I love both of them. I will fight both of them.
That's excellent. How did you, you never actually told me the story of what attracted you to arm wrestling, in your youth. I know you were a young competitive arm wrestler, and for those that don't know, you won the world championships, the amateur championships multiple times. How did you actually get inspired to go into arm wrestling, and what was your early training career like?
Well, it was back in Armenia when I was like 14, 15 years old, just lifting weights in the gym, and there was a table in the corner. So sometimes trying arm wrestling with other guys like me. Then I heard there is a tournament, little tournament, and I decided, okay, let's try. And guess what? I beat everybody. And then, like chasing some dreams, maybe glory, maybe name, and I decided to pay more attention. After 6 months, I beat the number one guy in the country in my weight class.
Wow.
And then I did it seriously already, like switched from just basic unknown weightlifting to special sports, arm wrestling.
At that time when you started, was gym training a significant component of the training that you guys were doing in Armenia, or was it mostly table time? Table time, by the way, for the audience, means practicing on the arm wrestling table with a person.
Well, both of them,
Oh,
and even more table time than right now we are doing, because it's just every day I want to try something with somebody, and then I see a line at the table. Everybody wants to pull and this stuff. But at that time, there was a big problem. No YouTube, no videos. Internet was just beginning. So information we were getting from someone who went to some other country to compete, and he was coming back. And if we were lucky, he had a videotape, we could watch it. If not, he was just telling the stories and the experience he got from others. Right now, it's easier. Right now, they just find Vazgen, they go, and he shows everything that he gained in 20 plus years. It's easier now.
you know, one distinctive thing about your arm wrestling style is your speed, which I assume was a natural gift, but also your extreme formidability with your style, which is a hook. Now, just for the audience to know, a hook means in arm wrestling, you're holding hands, but it's not what people think that I've an arm wrestler. You're not going like this. You're moving your body, you're turning inwards. There's a lot of body movement involved and a lot of strength, wrist strength, and then there's a pronation and a supination. So there are people that hold and they do what's called a top roll. They supinate. You do an incredible hook where you they pronate. You do a hook where you supinate. Your hook is so powerful that personally, you know, I used to be a quite muscular guy and I used to arm wrestle with you. And when you would Vazgen would do the hook, I would be done. He doesn't need to even move his arm because the hook was so quick in the supination. What attracted you to the hook specifically? Was that all people were doing back then? Because now in the US is known for top rollers.
Well, in the beginning, you don't even know what part of your arm is stronger. When you start arm wrestling, it develops by the time, and you start to dominate in some of techniques. But by my years, by time evolution in my sports, particularly with me, and my philosophy, it changes by the age too. So now I say you cannot be just one technique fighter. What if they try the other one that you don't manage well? What, you lose the match? So you must be able to do everything. This is what I accept now. I tell people to train top roll, fingers, hook, everything. So if you lose your momentum in the beginning and you get in your opponent's game, you are ready to fight with his game. Like, okay, let's do this. This is the best thing. You can be fighting everywhere and any style on the table.
John Berzink, the most legendary probably arm wrestler in history, was an American arm wrestler of, I think, Polish descent. He was most known for this fluid ability that he can switch from one move to another depending on his opponent. And so that's what you're drawing toward, the ability to reorganize your
Right. And that's why such ability made him such famous and arm wrestler, popular arm wrestler in the world.
Vazgen, how is it different to train for in arm wrestling? There's one of the biggest things is tournaments, and traditionally people used to go into tournaments. So you would arm wrestle with people and move up the ranks, and eventually try to win the tournament, win your class, and win the tournament. There's another kind of arm wrestling that's become very popular. Personally, it's my favorite to watch. Of course, it's the super matches. Super matches, they have like a few rounds in a row, and whoever wins the most rounds wins the match, which is what WAL and the Zloty Tour super matches are about. You've been, I think, in the Zloty Tour super match also, right? So Zloty Tour in Poland has a tournament and a super match. How is it different to train for one than the other? Because I'm very curious about that.
Well, normally it's a tournament. So you go, there is bracketing, you compete in your weight class. It can be 10 people, 20 people, 30 people. So you're competing in a tournament. You beat everybody, you become a champion, first place. Super matches are different format. Normally, it's professional format. There are different super matches, 3 rounds, 5 rounds, or 6 rounds. So professional top level super matches in Vendetta in professional arm wrestling league. is 6 rounds. The difference between two formats, tournaments, you train just whatever you can, your best against any possible person, and you have to beat most of them in tournament format. But super match, you know already, like in half year, you're competing against this guy 6 rounds. You are watching his videos, you are investigating everything, his abilities, you build your training strategy, you're planning in training. And in this training, you put mostly in your endurance, because super matches they have 2 minutes break, rest time between rounds. So you don't have much time to rest, to recover. You develop your endurance more in your trainings to survive in such a battle. And basically you are competing against one person, which is easy and hard, I would say.
Yeah, there's
Just focus one person, build your strength to beat this one person.
Vazgen, when did you win Worlds? Which years was it in?
Say again, I can't hear.
Which years did you win Worlds, the Worlds competition in?
2005, 7, 8. And I got third place in 2011, 12. I have another bronze medal from 2000.
Wow, that's a lot. That's incredible. And in your competitions in America, I've noticed that you've had a particular rivalry with a couple of opponents. Who has been your top opponents in your weight class? Because there's some of the, just for the audience to know, at the lower weight classes, the people are not as heavy, but the technique is actually probably the best example of technique in arm wrestling, and speed is a major issue.
My sports, martial arts philosophy says everybody is my opponent. Everybody is tough. I don't want to underestimate anyone. But of course, I have some guys that it's harder to compete. It takes more attention because, if you blink your eye, you can lose. And, well, there are many guys that I fight really hard, including Jeff Hale, Corey Miller. At that time, they were lighter weight. So, especially my final battles in Arnold Classic were very, very interesting, and they were even better than in some heavyweight finals. So people were watching, and many times my photos from my final fight were in Arnold Classic Arm Wrestling cover on the website.
Yeah,
and we went to Arnold Classic together one year, remember?
It was amazing to be there. Such an opportunity to see the top of the world compete and to see in style. I advise the audience to go on YouTube and search Vazgen's name and see some of his competitions. They're really inspirational. Now, I'm aware of your time. I want to discuss briefly some of the styles in arm wrestling and how they differ a little bit, because I want the audience to realize it's such a beautiful sport to watch, actually. Many people, I don't think they realize. Can you tell us about some of the most well-known arm wrestlers with interesting styles in the modern times?
Yeah, I bet a lot of people will start Googling arm wrestling on YouTube and watch videos. Maybe some of them get involved. We have some really good, like remarkable technical arm wrestlers right now, especially in heavyweights. You can name Devon Varat, Denis Siplenkov. Dave Chaffee is like powerhouse, and many other guys, middleweights too, lightweights too, not only American, international arm wrestlers. Our Varej Sedrakian has incredible strength and endurance in arm wrestling. He's 75 kilo, which is 165.
The person I see with a similar style to yours is the Ossetian arm wrestler. I forgot his name briefly.
What weight class?
Your weight class, I think, or a bit higher. Sorry, a bit higher. 175 maybe, or 180. He's Ossetian. He does a hook, very fast hook.
They have so many good arm wrestlers in Ossetia.
I have to remember, it's been a couple of years I've not been looking into it, but
Actually, they have the best and strongest arm wrestling school in Ossetia. So
Really?
their traditions are even deeper.
So what's your prediction for when hopefully Denis Siplenkov gets back into the top eight? Top eight is a new tournament. Hosted by the Zloty Tour founder, and it's including some of the top arm wrestlers in the world in an exclusive contract to compete against each other. Last year, it was the favorite was Denis Siplenkov, but unfortunately he fell ill, and there was a lot of concern in the community for his health. He's thankfully recovering and training, and I see updates from him. He's known as the Ukrainian. Do they call him the Ukrainian Hulk?
He was born in Ukraine, but he's Russian.
He's Russian. Ah, but they call him the Hulk or no? Is that just Levan?
Oh, you mean Levan? Levan
Yeah.
is Georgian guy.
Yeah, but
Siplenkov was born in Ukraine, but he's Russian. He lives in Russia now.
people in bodybuilding have been calling him the Ukrainian Hulk. I don't know why. I've been calling.
I don't know.
So Denis Siplenkov was the favorite, but there's been a gentleman from Georgia who was a very proficient arm wrestler in a lower weight class, not in a super heavyweight. And suddenly, about 3 years ago, it was like he ate himself. He just grew so much and became 350 pounds or something like that. His name is Levan Saginashvili. It's hard to spell his name, but if you write Levan and look on YouTube, you'll see some of the most interesting matches. He's considered to be maybe the only person that could compete with Denis Siplenkov.
Could compete. You said it right. Levan used to compete at the World Championships, and then he stopped competing there and he switched to professional league, doing those super matches that we were talking about. And today, because of temporary unavailable Siplenkov, he won that heavyweight belt. And today, officially, he is the strongest heavyweight. Well, but Siplenkov announced already that he is working on comeback. He's recovering. And once he's ready, they will definitely set a fight between those two guys. And my pick will be Denis Siplenkov. Why? I know him personally. I know how his mind is set. I know how he keeps that discipline, how he's training. If it's time to eat, he eats. If it's time to sleep, he sleeps. If it's time to train, he does that. And when they were here in LA, just after tournaments, having fun for a couple of days, I remember some guys, we were in the hotel and some guys were like, oh, let's go to the beach, let's go to shopping. He said, I told you, sleep. After 5 minutes, the whole group was sleeping. It was his sleep time. And then we went to shopping, of course.
I want to ask you a final thing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupt you.
And his strength, his technique, he's very, very smart at the table. I've seen him doing things that, well, I was thinking like, why I wouldn't think about this? And he did it. So, okay. His strategy, his planning, his everything is so good. Almost no weak places, almost. But Levan, he is still growing, coming up. Maybe one day he will be best of the best. I don't know. But today, watching his last year's fights and a year before, I can say that he still has some weak places he needs to work. Maybe he already worked on them. We'll see.
Who do you think was the second most capable person in the top 8 of last year? Probably the Russian gentleman?
Vitaly Laletin.
Yeah, what potential do you think Laletin has because of his...
Laletin finished as a second guy. And at that time, they were talking like Laletin will beat Levan. But later, the battle showed that he couldn't. And I saw the very first round in that fight. Pressure was so much, even when I was watching on TV, the pressure was so much. Okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And the first ready go, even it was so much on Levan, the pressure. there was a slip. They put straps that pressure crushed Laletin, I guess, mentally. He lost all other rounds, like 6-0, as I remember. Yeah, 6-0.
Yeah, for the audience to know, Laletin is a very tall Russian trucker, actually. He's very, very tall, and his arm length, meaning from the elbow to the end of the fingers, is very tall. So he has a how do you call
And
it?
very strong. No matter he lost to Levan that day, he still can beat many, many famous and very popular heavyweight arm wrestlers.
Potentially all in North America, potentially at that level. And he's also very fast, which is incredible for someone that tall, and with a really interesting form and a perfect technique. The final thing, Coach Vazgen, I want to ask you one final thing before I let you go, because I know you have a busy day, but I hope that you'll come back again, because it's such a pleasure always to talk to you, and I think the audience will get inspired to check out arm wrestling and to learn about different combatants and the amazing matches. The final thing I wanted to ask you is something controversial in arm wrestling. I don't know how controversial it is anymore, but Monster Michael Todd is well known. He's an American arm wrestler with the nickname Monster, because he's really he is really an incredible arm wrestler with incredible endurance. And even before he developed this thing that we're going to talk about, he was a great arm wrestler. But what happened to him basically is that his right arm got to a point where it cannot extend very far because of the repeated injury stress to the arm. Basically, there's some maybe calcification in the elbow or something like that, where his range is very limited. And he used this to his advantage as a tool. And they call this the king's move. Can you talk to us a little bit about what the controversy is, how some people see it, and how you maybe think of it as and what would you do if you ever approached someone that had that gift, like the guy from Crazy George from Canada, who's maybe in your weight class? I don't know.
Michael is a good friend of mine, and why he competes like that, I don't know. Because of some injury many years ago, he can't extend his elbow all the way. I don't know. But by the time he developed his own style of competing that later people called King's move, to be honest, I don't know why King's move, not Queen's move. It's just a move when he sticks his arm up, a little bit extended, and drops his shoulder. Well, it's hard to explain like this. You have to watch the video. There is different people do this in different ways, so you have to watch videos. And for the opponent, it's uncomfortable to pin his arm on the pin pad. And a lot of people, they say, no, this is ugly arm wrestling. This is not arm wrestling. This is not correct. It doesn't look beautiful. I don't accept this. It's within the rules. If you are inside the rules and you do whatever you want at the table, it is called technique. He's just winning the match, whatever he can. Somebody top rolls, somebody hooks, somebody does like that. For me, it's okay. It's normal. I don't say anything. It's for others, it's their problem. But he's winning his matches. And Crazy George from Canada, 75 years old already, he's winning matches against some famous world champions. They can't do anything because with their experience, they can't figure out anything to put against this technique. And actually, it's their problem. I remember Bruce Lee words, be like a water. When they put you in a teapot, become a teapot. You have seen these videos many times, right? Mm-hmm. It means when your opponent competes like that, get that shape to beat him in that way. I had a Vendetta arm fight super match in Las Vegas. My opponent from Bulgaria was pulling that way, and I beat him 6 rounds.
Oh, wow.
So there is a way to beat such a technique. The question is, are you ready? Are you able to do that? I was preparing for such solutions. And remember, we talked about super matches. You have to train against one person. So I developed some skills to beat such a technique. But during the fight, I developed even more ways to do that. Well, it shows your level in managing that martial art. Arm wrestling is some type of martial art. So I don't accept any complaints about why Michael is pulling like this. guys just train to beat the guy. That's it.
The technique that I've seen that people are doing to try to get to Michael is by repositioning the hand, trying to get leverage. That's the main technique that they're trying to do. Keep and with the straps.
It's one of the ways to do that. You can Google Michael Todd's name on YouTube and see his fights. I think another great example how to handle such a technique is the Vendetta R fight between Michael Todd and Dmitry Trubin, where Trubin could find the correct way to fight against. Well, there are many. You can see if you search his name.
Yeah, Dmitry Trubin is also a close friend of Vazgen's and an incredible arm wrestler with great technique, and he also became a super heavyweight. And his match versus Michael Todd is one I would highly recommend for people. Also, before we finish, I need to let you go. I just want to let the audience know also you should check out Mr. Pushkin. Pushkin has some of the most inspirational matches because of his extremes.
Pushkar.
Sorry, I said Pushkin for the writer. I don't know why I said that. You know the writer, the Russian writer?
Yeah.
No, Pushkar. Mr. Pushkar passed away, God rest his soul. But he had, in a car accident, by the way, but he had incredible, what would you call that? His start. It's not speed quite. It's I don't know, explosiveness.
Incredible. Yeah, they had incredible match in Poland 2 years ago. Pushkar and Michael Todd. Well, Michael Todd usually competing in his style, and it was so uncomfortable for Pushkar. He was putting his 110% to win that match. It was like, yes, Pushkar won the match, but he was like deadly tired.
He was getting angry. He was really getting angry.
Yeah, like why he can't handle it, why he was hitting the table, like it was crazy match. Everybody just loved that fight.
My favorite match with him is actually one with Ferit Osmanli, who's a Turkish arm wrestler that I'm sure you know also. But he has one match with him where Pushkar gets very annoyed with something Ferit is doing. I don't know what it is on the table. And he stares at him in the face. It's on YouTube. So if you guys...
yeah, I've seen that.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay, Vazgen, I don't want to take too much of your time. I really appreciate you being here with us. Audience, check out Arm Wrestling Apparel, but also check out Vazgen on Instagram. Follow him because it's great to look into this sport. There's no other way in life you can get a strength sport that is also a beautiful art and a martial sport, a combat sport with opponents.
Thank you, Leo, for your invite, and thanks everybody for listening. Just guys, follow your dreams. Do whatever you like, do it perfectly, and success will come by itself.